Gloria McIntyre succumbed to breast cancer in early 2020, and although her battle had lasted for over a year, her husband Sylvester was not prepared. You see, he had planned a trip to South Africa as sort of a reward for when Gloria beat this thing. It's fair to say his hope slipped into denial. Well, now he's drowning in a sea of grief. What is that like? Every waking moment only reminding you that your partner is gone. Your only sanctuary is sleep. That is until the nightmares begin. Then you pray to wake up, only to reach across the bed and feel nothing but coldness, thus starting the whole process over again. Sylvester's son, Darius, saw this and wanted to relieve his father's grief, so he planned to take the old man to South Africa himself. It took some convincing from his older brother Travis, who could not make the trip, but Sylvester finally agreed. The guys promised to take pics for Travis to document all the moments he missed out on. The two men had a great time. They went on a safari, had exotic foods, and visited a couple long-lost relatives. Unfortunately, after they returned, Sylvester got sick. He caught something over there and passed away days later. Darius must have caught the same thing. He was also feeling ill. But it didn't prevent him from traveling from New Jersey to North Carolina to tell Travis the bad news. Once Darius told his brother the news, Travis tilted his head sideways like a confused dog watching his owner get a haircut. Travis was expecting pictures from their trip, but instead was left devastated by his brother's visit. Little did he know, this was the last time he'd ever see Darius, who would die 10 days later. They gave each other a deep hug and parted. As Travis walked away from his brother, he almost bumped into someone. It was Ronnie Long. They were both serving time at an Albemarle prison. This is Another Shade of Crime, Long Conviction, Episode 6. It's March 18th, 2020, and there is good news for Ronnie Long. Remember that en banc petition? Well, the Fourth Circuit of Appeals has made a decision. Ronnie has beat the odds, and they have approved it. That means Judge Thatcher was right about this case. Nehemiah and Richardson were too quick to dismiss it. And now, they will have to explain that to the other judges, who would have rather looked at other cases rather than the one that had already been reviewed. The full panel consists of about 15 judges. Each side will get 30 minutes to state their case. They have no exact date yet, but as soon as they do, they will reach out to all of Ronnie's supporters. They need to pack that courtroom. A strong showing of support is the goal. Some sort of flu is starting to spread throughout the world. Schools, churches, courtrooms, and any other public spaces are being shut down to lessen what could be a global pandemic. Travis was rushed to the hospital. He dies a week later. A shame. He always said the charges that got him in prison were false. He'll never know what it's like to be exonerated and died alone surrounded by strangers. As of March 26, 2020, the Department of Public Health says there are no longer visitations within the prisons, with the exception of pastoral and legal visits. A few weeks later, Ronnie gets the date for his en banc review. It's May 7th, 2020. It will be done remotely, but can be watched live on the Fourth Circuit Court's YouTube channel. And now Ronnie's tenure enters a period it has visited many times before. He waits, but this time the wait is more perilous. On May 7th, Ronnie's en banc hearing was held. Things went surprisingly well, but everyone knows that it really all depends on how the judges happen to feel on the day of the hearing. It's kind of a crapshoot. On May 27th, 2020, Ronnie's mom celebrated her 89th birthday. A nice celebration, indeed. But there was a lingering sadness, a sadness no one wanted to speak of, but everyone could feel. On that day, and every day for the following few weeks, she asked about Ronnie. She wondered if he had been freed yet. Family members let her know it had not happened yet. Just hold on, they say. Prisoners start to turn on each other. If you cough during dinner, there's a good chance you'll be singled out and threatened and assaulted. Everyone was nervous, and they had a right to be. Guys were forced to share cells. They were sleeping, washing, and shitting within 3 feet of each other. No way to socially distance themselves. One inmate vomited near another one, and a violent altercation happened, leaving the inmate with serious injuries. Inmates were regularly checked, and you better make sure to have the paperwork or some proof you're negative. To make matters worse, sick patients would vanish, get tested, then return later like nothing happened. The prison staff was not spared either, and frankly, many didn't even want to come to work, which allowed even more violence to go unchecked. By June 24, several other inmates have died. The NAACP and ACLU demands better treatment for the prisoners. So, 774 inmates are tested, and over 100 of them test positive for COVID-19. The coronavirus outbreak at Albemarle is the third largest. The largest is at Neuse Correctional Institute, where more than 460 inmates have tested positive for COVID-19. The second largest was at North Carolina Correctional Institute for Women, where more than 200 inmates have tested positive for the virus. Albemarle refused to release him early. Although some prisons were doing this was something Ashley really wanted for Ronnie. He has a pre-existing condition, and he is older. The last thing Ashley wanted was for Ronnie to finally prove his innocence, yet die because of a goddamn virus. It's terrifying here. Ronnie won't feel safe until he's away from here and in his own home. The prison is separated into 3 sections. Those who are healthy, those most vulnerable like older prisoners or ones with pre-existing conditions, and those who have already tested positive. This puts Ronnie's life at even worse risk. Here in this new environment, an older man that is immunocompromised can contract this insidious disease at the drop of a hat. And now he is stuck with them. What's worse is the fact that it is becoming clear that even the healthy could carry it, non-symptomatic. Several inmates with no symptoms tested positive. On July 10th, after numerous highs, lows, wins, and losses, Ronnie knew his mother was not getting better. Yes, her cancer is in remission, but she still suffers daily. And although his hope remains, maybe it was time to do something he had been putting off. So that night, he spoke to God. But this time, he wasn't asking for his release. This was a son asking for the pain to stop for his beloved. And the next day, God answered his prayer. A magnificent, strong woman who will be deeply missed by not just her family, but by anyone who ever met her. Rest in peace, Mother. After this awful news, Ronnie waited to hear that wheelchair. He waited for that fiend that resembled him to appear. He knew that thing would mumble something about loss and pain and failure. It would gloat. But it never came. But what was coming was much worse than any figment of Ronnie's imagination. More and more inmates start getting sick around Ronnie. The real danger are the new inmates coming in. Where are they from? Were they tested? They shouldn't be moving inmates around at a time like this. Rumor has it, a huge number of transports will be arriving soon. Ronnie needs to get out before that transfer. As new prisoners are preparing for the transfer to Albemarle Prison, we focus on one in particular, 64-year-old cancer survivor, Robert McNeil. He does have COVID and has already obliviously infected 7 people. He will be here in 2 days. And guess where he's going to end up? But before that can happen, on August 26, 2020, word comes out that his conviction has been vacated. The state has decided they will not retry him. Ronnie kept asking his lawyer Jamie if this was really happening. When word got out Ronnie was being released, this podcaster does not mind admitting that he shed a tear. On August 27th, 2020, Ashley's birthday, incidentally, it finally happened. 44 years late, but somehow right on time, Ronnie Wallace Long finally left that goddamn prison. Ronnie walks out wearing a black suit with a red tie and a badass black and red fedora. The brother has style. He paused for a second. He wants to look back. He's almost afraid to, worried he will turn into a pillar of salt, like in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But he does. He stares, almost as if he's trying to cement the idea that this long journey is finally over. Ronnie then exhales and continues forward. With every step, it felt like Ronnie was walking in a minefield. At any moment, he expected something awful to happen. He sort of expected someone to stop him. It's been a mistake. Turn around. Where do you think you're going? But he hears nothing. So he just kept walking. One step at a time. In the distance, past the gate, he sees a crowd of family members, news organizations, and supporters. Someone is missing. Where is she? Oh, there she goes. Just outside the gate. Ashley is wearing a black Free Ronnie Long t-shirt over a pinkish dress. Ever seen an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge? It's a Twilight Zone episode. A prisoner is about to be hung. The rope snaps. He escapes. He runs. But seconds before he can make it back into his wife's open arms, his neck snaps. And he realized his freedom was a dream. This is no dream. That reality hits Ronnie as Ashley hugs him deeply. The world pauses and for a second everyone and everything disappears. Just 2 souls intertwined, him and her. Afterwards, Ronnie takes a few minutes to answer some questions. The one that we all want to ask is how did he manage to survive?
I couldn't give up because if I gave up, you understand, so I give out. If I give out, it's over with. Yeah. So I couldn't do that there, you understand? Believe in it, you got to have faith in something. Believe in, you understand, saying that the Creator is watching over you. Believe in that. You got people and family, you understand, that believe in you. So you do what you need to do, you understand, saying in order to get back. You keep that hope because I felt that one day, gonna send me a God sent, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Gonna send me somebody, you understand what I'm saying? That's gonna make it happen. Don't never give up. You don't make no difference how rough it may seem, don't see no different how rough it may get. Don't give up. Always believe that you can overcome. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, this ain't no thing. I'm telling you, always believe that you can overcome and do what you need to do, you understand what I'm saying, in order to survive. That's what the name of the game is. The name of the game is survive.
Now, you better get the hell out of there before they change their mind. His first full day of freedom, Ronnie gets up early, sits on the deck, and watches the sunrise. Knowing you can go wherever you want and eat anything you want is the gift the free always take for granted, but not the newly released. It encompasses their freedom. Did he go back to Concord to live? No. The cops have been driving by his family's house and slowing down, hoping to see if anyone dares to meet their eyes. Ronnie and Ashley settle in near the city of Charlotte, surrounded by family and friends. He is not angry. He's grateful. He knows how lucky he is.